Another Dutton family saga is in full swing, but let's be honest, it's not easy to keep up with whatever 1923 throws at us. It is annoyingly slow. This is why we are doing a complete breakdown of the show for you, including the first look at Season 2, Episode 4, First Look. What went down in Season 2, Episode 2? Starting off, in Season 2, Episode 2 of 1923, Taylor Sheridan makes sure no one underestimates the Montana winter. This time, nearly everyone in the state is suffering, except for a few Norwegian skiers who seem to be the only ones having any fun. Even Cara Dutton, played by Helen Mirren, can only talk about how beautiful the mountains look in the spring, as if that somehow justifies enduring such a brutal season. With a blizzard on the way, Jacob Dutton, played by Harrison Ford, has no choice but to ride into Bozeman. He has urgent business with the local judge because his top ranch foreman, Zane Davis, is still locked up. His so-called crime? Breaking a miscegenation law, a racist restriction meant to prevent interracial marriages. Jacob sees this for what it is, another calculated move by Donald Whitfield, the wealthy businessman played by Timothy Dalton, who is slowly dismantling the Dutton support system. But Jacob is not about to stand by and let that happen. Teaming up with the local sheriff, he forces the judge's hand, securing Zane's release along with his wife and children. The judge, it turns out, has his own secrets. He is married to a Native American woman and is caught drinking during Prohibition. In true Taylor Sheridan fashion, the takeaway is clear. The law is often built on contradictions, and people will always find a way to live by their own rules, especially the Dutton clan and their allies. But this wasn't the only reason why upcoming episodes of 1923 are going to be so exciting. A certain someone is back in town. Spencer is in America. Finally! We know a fight is brewing, so Jacob and Cara waited as Spencer Dutton fought off nature to get to America. After a brutal journey, he finally arrives in Galveston, Texas, where the Italians dominate the bootlegging trade. Last week, he saved a small but scrappy Italian man named Luca, played by Andy Dispenza, from an attacker. Now, Luca wants to return the favor. He introduces Spencer to Signore Maceo, the head of Galveston's mafia syndicate. Taylor Sheridan takes some creative liberties here, since Salvatore Maceo and his brother, Rosario, were real-life bootleggers in the late 1920s. After their time passed, the Fertitta family took over and later moved their operations to Las Vegas casinos. But coming back to the story, Spencer gets a warm Italian welcome and even tries pizza for the first time. It is, of course, incredible. Maceo sets him up in a hotel where he finally sends a telegram home. It seems like he is all set to head for Montana, but Maceo is not ready to let him go. He sends his men to make sure Spencer stays for dinner. Spencer refuses and knocks one of them out. That only makes things worse because more enforcers intercept him at the train station and leave him badly beaten. If rideshare apps had existed in 1923, Spencer would have been long gone. When he wakes up, he is back at Maceo's. The crime boss is insulted that he declined the invitation. "I never asked for it, and I don't want it," Spencer says, tied up and frustrated. "I am needed in Montana, my family is in danger, my wife is lost to me, I don't have time for hospitality." Maceo finally offers him a way out, gifting him and Luca a truck. But there is a catch. Spencer can only use it if he helps distribute illegal booze on the way home. Instead of letting him take the train, they pull him into their smuggling business. Spencer, knowing how ridiculous this is, responds dryly, "Yeah, I've got time for that." Meanwhile, Alexandra, played by Julia Schleipfer, is having a nightmare of a sea voyage. As she reads a heartfelt love letter to Spencer in a voiceover, chaos breaks out. Passengers are thrown from their bunks, sliding across the floor, and now only time will tell what happens next. Teonna will be the highlight of Episode 3. And this is precisely why 1923 is getting on our nerves. Fans believe that Season 2 of the show is shaping up to be more of a waiting game than expected. With key characters on separate journeys, each episode jumps between different storylines. For episode 2, much of the focus remained on Alex traveling alone and Teonna trying to stay ahead of those hunting her down. So naturally, these two are going to make the most of the episode 3 as per speculations. So if you missed episode 2, here is some context to help you piece things together. Father Renault and Marshall Kent have tracked down Teonna from Montana to Anadarko, Oklahoma. Fans believe that the show is going off the rails with this particular bit, but there's no arguing with Sheridan, we suppose. In Anadarko, Kent is thrown off by the presence of a female marshal. She shares his surprise that Teonna is worth all this trouble, but agrees to put up wanted posters. Before he leaves, she offers a warning. Comanche only respects that badge if it respects them back, she tells him. Many marshals found their way into a pine box, learning that lesson. Yep, pretty standard stuff for Sheridan. No wonder that the most exciting part of episode 2 was the bad guys. An enemy in the making. Back in Montana, Donald Whitfield is shaping up to be the most dangerous threat to the Dutton way of life in Yellowstone history. While past enemies have tried to steal their land for ski resorts and airports, Whitfield takes a different approach. He is not just after their ranch, he is dismantling their entire philosophy, piece by piece. At John Dutton's funeral in Yellowstone Season 5, the priest's eulogy lamented how America had abandoned the ranchers and farmers who feed the country. This week in 1923, Whitfield delivers a cold counterpoint. Livestock isn't a business, it's the toil of peasants, he says, dismissing the very foundation of the Dutton legacy. Later, Banner Creighton, played by Jerome Flynn, confesses his fears about Whitfield. People talk about him as a man with vision, someone who looks at a mountain and sees hidden wealth or watches skiers and imagines untapped profits. But Banner knows better. If Whitfield has any vision, it's pure greed. He sees through us, Banner says, sees the greed in our hearts. Episode 4 will probably feature all the warning signs about Whitfield. Most likely, he'll garner ammunition for his nefarious plans. Season 2 of 1923 is pretty graphic. Now that's the ominous drama we were looking for. It seems like the enemies of the Dutton clan are faring well, but fans are getting tired of the graphic scenes in the show. It makes sense that Sheridan really wants to build Whitfield's bad guy persona, but with his nefarious exploits and that unfortunate situation with Luca, it seems like 1923 is getting pretty difficult to watch, especially if you can't watch gore. It wasn't surprising that for some fans, episode 2 was a bit too graphic to watch. At the Dutton Ranch, Elizabeth is attacked by a rabid wolf. A ranch hand fires a shot to scare it off, but the animal lingers as she tends to the bite wounds on her leg. Later, she hesitates to take a rabies shot, terrified of the massive needle. The nurses have to hold her down as she screams while the doctor administers the vaccine. The scene is intense and hard to watch. That same night, Jacob, Jack, Zane, and the other ranchers are caught in a blizzard on their way home. Meanwhile, Kara faces another threat. After dealing with a mountain lion last week, she is woken by a sudden crash. The wolf has broken into the house and killed Elizabeth's nurse. Off-screen, Kara fires her shotgun and screams. Then the screen fades to black. Yep, Sheridan and his love for cliffhangers knows no bounds. What happens next? Episode 3 will likely follow Spencer and Luca as they drive a truck loaded with bootleg liquor north to Fort Worth. Given the dangerous nature of their cargo, trouble seems inevitable. Leaked photos suggest the two will part ways at some point, marking the breakup teased earlier. If you thought Jack and Elizabeth were the ones splitting up, think again. Meanwhile, Kara Dutton is seen anxiously waiting, most likely for Jacob to return home. Another image shows Teonna's father riding alone. He planned to seek out Charles Goodnight, the legendary rancher played by Sheridan in 1883. In real life, Goodnight was in his 80s by 1923, so bringing him into the story would require some serious makeup work. But it is not out of the question. Another possibility is that Runs His Horse encounters trouble before he reaches Goodnight. Father Renault and Marshall Kent are still searching for Teonna, and their relentless pursuit could put him in danger. The title of the episode, Wrap Thee in Terror, suggests dark times ahead. So buckle up for some much-needed drama. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon!